Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is an MC and entertainer, a one-time rollerblader, and owner and operator of the Big Dirty in Eugene, Oregon, K.I.Design. K.I., welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is
Co-owner
really
cool. and continued rollerblader.
Continued. I wanted to say one time because I didn't know if you were active in the rollerblading scene, but I know that it is something you were deeply passionate about at one time. So you are still avid in it?
I'm still a strong advocate and diplomat for the rollerblading community. Yeah.
I do think that puts you in a marginalized group.
For sure.
In some ways.
You want to talk about oppression.
Yeah. So take that privilege.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey, thanks for doing this. So we've known each other for a long time, but not super close. You know, we kind of we run with a lot of the same circles. So this is going to be cool because I thought we could kind of get to know each other a little better. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, and I really, really, really wanted to do this in person.
Yeah.
But I felt sick, and everybody in my house is sick. We don't have COVID. I tested, and the stick only said pregnant. So I just wanted to do the right thing, and I'm glad I started feeling sick on the weekend so I can get back to work and whatnot. But here we are. So thanks for being, on the fly because you had to set all this up, stuff up. This is your first Zoom call.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So
not a whole lot in the bar community, very
right. Yeah, you just meet in an alley behind John Henry's or whatever.
Exactly.
John Henry's. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about yourself. You've been making music in Eugene for a long time, hip hop music, and then you've done comedy. You've hosted a ton of shows, and we're going to talk about that at length about your new, it's fairly new venue. How long has the Big Dirty been open?
It'll be 2 years in July, late June, early July.
So that's, it's still in the infant stage, but it's at this point, it's not going anywhere. And I think that's a good sign. I hope.
Yeah, thanks. It's a turbulent economy in Eugene, as anybody with a storefront or any sort of,
right.
business.
And a venue is tough. We'll talk about that. But before we get to what, led you to leading or to teaming up with a couple people to start a business, let's talk about kind of, touring and doing hip hop music. So are you from Eugene originally, or are you an implant?
Not originally. I am an implant. I moved here in 2008 before the great California exodus, and I never looked back. So right. I've been here since most of my adult life. I moved here when I was just 20. Right.
And then pretty early on, just started making music, doing shows.
So me and two of my buddies moved up here. We got a job at a Dairy Queen on River Road. And then we heard on the radio while we were working together, like rap battle at the Wow Hall. And my friends were like, hey, we signed you up. If you win, just give us the money back that we paid to get in, because it was like $10 to get in or whatever. And I was like, all right. And I went, and that's when I met everybody, was at a rap battle. So that was my first introduction into the hip hop scene here. And then from there, I developed like friendships with Undermined and Brendan Cerebral and my group that formed out of that, and Eb and all those guys.
Yeah. And you guys were crushing it. You guys were doing a lot of free shows, right? A lot of, it was a struggle for sure. Making music in Eugene is tough because there's so many artists that sometimes the artists are the venue owners, and then it's hard. There's just not a lot of money,
It depends what you want out of music in Eugene. I always tell people that, like, I think that if you're expecting A&Rs to come knock on your door, that's not gonna happen here. Right. But you can carve a little niche, and you can have fun, and you can make a couple bucks doing it. What we did was eventually the architects and I got into running a weekly at Lucky's. And we did that for like 7 years when nobody was doing hip hop anywhere else. We were bringing people like Chino XL and Quell and Blueprint and Open Mike Eagle and all these, at the time, mid-tier underground hip hop acts through a town that they'd normally skip and go to Bend or Portland, So I'm sorry.
No, and that's rad when, regardless, it's bands that you're excited about, and your friends, and smaller venues,
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
We got some shout outs from Thomas Yuta, so let's read those real quick. Shout out from the
Oh,
Two Lonely Boys in a Canoe podcast. We love the Big Dirty. That's from Thomas Gradient.
thanks, man.
And then he also said Kai is the true dad boy bod rap god. So the dad bod rap god.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you are a father now, so things are a little bit different. I'm
I'm a
sure not.
father and an expecting father. We have one on the way. So
Right. Oh wow. Did that news just break on the Spencer Rant podcast? That's exciting.
I mean, I think officially, yeah. I mean, I've been telling people close to me, but into the public, yeah.
Now 32 people know, and that's exciting stuff. So
That is what's up.
yeah. So you had talked about live shows at Lucky's. That was, or did you bring? You talked about the Architects. That was was it weekly forever or was it monthly?
It was weekly. It started on Tuesdays and then it switched to Wednesdays. And then during it's like Swan Song, it became like every other week.
Right. I heard about you for the first time from one of my neighbors, and I was starting to make hip hop music, and we have totally different styles and whatnot. But I listened to it and it was like I was just sad. I was like, I guess I quit. You're a very talented artist, and we're gonna talk. You got stuff up on Spotify now.
Yeah,
you can find that under K.I.Design, and we're gonna
Mhm.
play one of your songs for the audio listeners today. But I want to give talk about the mix genre shows. Let's talk about the Big Dirty and give some shout outs. The mix
Okay.
genre shows are really cool. That's something that I've always thought that Eugene is the best about. Eugene embraces the idea of a lot of different types of music can come together. You can have reggae mixed with jam band, mixed with hip hop, mixed with straight metal, if you want on the same lineup, and people really dig it. And the Big Dirty is a venue, since you guys are, setting the lineups. The Big Dirty is a place that is embraced, and I love that.
Thanks for noticing that. I feel like Eugene is a eclectic in its music taste, and it's not a big market. So if you're going to do something, you can't be too nichey. You have to be you got to hit a lot of targets, and like, I don't know. I felt like once I was out of high school, I stopped letting what genre I was into define my personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm learning a lot through the people that I work with at the Big Dirty, and that, like, again, I can't take credit for the Big Dirty. It's a huge team effort.
Absolutely.
Matt and Tex and Alexis on booking, and Kenny and Chino, and all of our security staff, our sound guy Billy. Like, it's the way I look at it is like they're different parts of one working organism, and we all have a shared goal here of doing exactly what you said, which is like bring sort of the stuff that would normally skip over Eugene here, regardless of scene, that you subscribe to.
You guys have done a good job of not making it a dive bar, but there's dive bar elements. Like, it's like there's nights where it's a higher class. I don't want to say class, higher caliber of performer. For example, if it's a higher cover, it seems like it transitions really well where the same audience members get it, and they're like, I'm here to see, DJ abilities or something like that. That's a big deal for people, and then, big shows like Ender One. I want to give a shout out to Ender One. That dude's record release show was off the hook.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
And so, I mean, he's a local dude, but he brings a draw, once or twice a year when he does a big drop. It's a big get, that's a big outing.
He's a top tier local cat,
Yeah,
and
he's
like,
doing it.
He's local to us, but to a lot of his fans, he's not. So he's killing it out there. I'm proud of him. It's good to see him out there killing it.
You've been on a few tours. I know Ender's hit, Canada and done it all the way across the country. Talk about some of those experiences. Where have you gone?
I've just kind of done DIY, like I5 stuff with like Sammy Warmhands, and then did some stuff with the Architects. And most of it was like the relationship between here, Seattle, and like Central California. Most of it, was on that run. Reno a couple of times, but like, I toured and lived out of a suitcase like a handful of times, and was like, I don't ever want to do this.
Like, I don't want to do this. Yeah,
no desire. I'd prefer to be a hometown hero and be able to sleep in my bed and play shows.
So tell me how this whole thing came to be. I mean, I know that there's obviously like some business elements that are behind the scenes and stuff, but just an overview of, I mean, were you just frustrated with playing at different venues and having to deal with that? Was there just this kind of more or less like something inside of you that told you that you're like, I have to do this? You know, how did it kind of come to be?
Oh, no, it was a lot more serendipitous than that. Like, obviously, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always thought about it, but I don't have means or capital or anything like that. So like, I had to luckily get scouted by two guys that, funny story, two guys wanted to start a place. They bring me in as a consultant to help with setting up the bar. We all start talking. Turns out I'm the perfect fit. I end up getting a piece of the ownership, and I'm the guy that runs the place day to day, staffs it, comes up with order of operations, that type of stuff, and really implements everything. So the way I look at it is like I'm like the nervous system. So I just make sure I do my best to make sure that the information is getting received from channel to channel, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
but like I can't take credit for all the bookings. That's a lot of that is the squad, you know, like Alexis does the majority of our bookings, Alexis Schuster, and she's fucking amazing. She's
Yeah.
super good and always looking out for us while also being like an advocate for the artists and stuff that come through. And then Kenny Wilson, who you know from years of hip hop around here,
Oh yeah.
and groups that he was in, Animal Farm and Point Blank Rangers and stuff. He helps with the booking a lot.
Right. Currently with Primates, who is a group that is
Yeah,
hitting you to live band, live instrumentation hip hop. It's awesome.
it's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah,
Poison
they're
K Rails for sure.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
Poison Quills. Yeah, they're dropping an album here pretty soon.
Yeah. There's stuff on Spotify under Primates as well.
Yep,
And
with
I
an
mean, if you look, yeah, with an 8, PRIM8S, you know, yeah. No, I mean, it's really good to see, but I think it was smart for the people that had the capital basically to see what your vision was. And a lot of times it's like, you're not going to get a better, uh, organizer than somebody that's done shows and that understands the, you know, the pros and cons of the way that things go. I mean, it's so difficult. You put so much time into putting these shows together as an artist for scraps a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so when somebody actually has that experience, I think it really matters, because I think it makes a big difference to, you know, treating people with dignity, telling them straight up, there's not a lot of money in this night, you know, or whatever
Yeah.
it is. You just tell people the truth, don't lead them astray, kind of thing.
Oh, I'm transparent as hell, like to the point where it probably gets me in trouble, you know, because I'll be like, oh, we can't afford that. And people are like, don't say that. And I'm like, it's Eugene, Oregon during a recession. Like
Yeah.
we're not throwing big money on the table right now. But the way you look at, like, you know, in the fall, we're a C-list market. In the winter, we're a D market. So like if you're touring and you got to stop in San Francisco and then you've got to stop in Portland, you got a day off in between, you can play for less money in Eugene, but still sell merch, still get a guarantee. Because the way you look at it, if you're touring, if you're not playing, you're paying. So it's like if you're asking for $6,000 in LA, you're not going to get that in Eugene, just because the market doesn't have, we can't, because that would
Right.
mean that, okay, with a 270 person capacity, I'd have to charge X amount to make my profit margins, but the economy can't support a $35 ticket in
Every
downtown.
week.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
the way I look at it too is like, we're not just a music venue, we're a bar and a music venue. And that's because bars survive and music venues close.
Yeah.
The second,
Well,
the second.
and you need somewhere that people, you know, some nights you don't want it to be crowded. You want a place that you go to that
I enjoy a nice bar. I
Yeah,
think when
yeah.
people, I can't say that this place is like built in my image. It's a cool vibe, and I recognize that immediately. But I think most people that know me saw the vibe in there and wasn't like, "Oh, Ki, this strikes me of Ki," because it's not. It was a lot of artists that were brought on, and it was a lot of my partners that are really the like detail oriented visionaries. And I'm kind of like a hammer, dude. Like I just kind of like, this needs to be there. We need this many people on the ground, and then I surround myself with really talented people that are self-starters, because we're all solution based, because all of us know that this is a rising tide raises all ships. My partners and everyone knows I'm not trying to get rich off this. I'm trying to get everyone around me a leg up. So if I need to make $80,000 so everyone can make 50, as opposed to making 120 so everyone can make 30, you know, like I'd rather help the squad, you know. So
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about community, and then people recognize, like even as the patrons, if they're respected as being somebody that's part of the whole story of the venue. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
that actually is what makes it last. So
this
that's really
industry is it's a big churn and burn industry, and it sucks because some of the best ways to solidify yourself as like a standard in a town is to not have a bunch of turnover, so people know who they're going to see and they're going to build a relationship. As a barber, you understand that some people
oh
don't
yeah,
go to the barber shop, they go to their barber. They don't go to the bar, they go to their bartender, you know.
sure.
So having some of the like best bartenders in town that I've had the pleasure of working with and coming up with and teaching me what I know, it's like it's impossible to imagine this place succeeding without like the team that we have, you know.
Let's talk about the space. I didn't want to put pictures because I want people to look at your website because your
Oh yeah,
website's so well done. So anybody that's curious, because it's super colorful, the stage,
yeah.
but they can go to your website. It just Google the Big Dirty Eugene. But let's talk about the space. Who designed the stage? The stage is extremely colorful. You talked about it. It's extremely artful.
So
It's
that's
all of
a
you.
that's a that's a group out of Rhode Island called Reliquarium, and they do festival stages. So that was a stage from the Eclipse Festival that was repurposed to be our stage. And initially we had commissioned them to just do the stage and kind of the bar like spine thing with the bottle cabinets and stuff. And then COVID hit and they had all this extra stuff. And we were just like
We
our
will
partner
take it.
Maddie and Tex, our other partner was just like, let's just go hard. So originally it was going to be a lot more art deco with psychedelic dollops here and there. And
Right.
then when Reliquarium came in, we just went full like ayahuasca trip, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
like
awesome.
just.
It's
And then
awesome.
Jason Magellan is a lighting guy who's really reputable and done a lot of cool stuff, really talented dude, did all the lighting and a lot more in that place before he moved on to other things.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I highly recommend anybody listening go to the website. Do you know the website URL offhand?
Thebigdirty.live.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, and also go to a show, check it out.
Yeah, please.
So now who are some of you had mentioned a few before, but who are some of the favorite acts that you've hosted at the Big Dirty?
Um, man, there's a lot. I like some ones that I didn't know that I discovered there were like Kendra Morris was super tight. I really enjoyed her and I really enjoyed Les Special. These were some things that were outside of my normal genres that the team around me sort of these are shows that they put on with like Fresh Bacon and stuff, and they were really good. And then some of my favorites would be like I love when DJ Abilities comes to town. That's always fun. I loved a lot the Primates shows that we did. Blockhead came through. That was really cool.
What was
The
the
Dizzy
whole
Right,
situation? You had there's a mix up that was pretty frustrating that we we could
the
talk about.
hieroglyphics thing.
Yeah. So
Oh,
during
dude,
the World Championships, and this goes into your honesty stuff, right?
uh-huh.
Where you're just so blunt about it. I hope this isn't a sore spot, but it's interesting. I mean, it's just
I'm
one of
gonna
those
try
things
not to. I'm gonna try not to
your
upset
blood
anybody by talking
your
about it because I
blood's
don't want.
boiling. Yeah. No,
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 it's just
not boiling.
it's just the truth. It's just what
Mhm,
goes down in these things.
mhm.
And this is not we're not trying to throw dirt on anybody. But during the World Championships, right? So we had the biggest track event in the history of America of the United States in
That's how it
Eugene,
was.
Oregon, which is pretty wild.
Mhm.
Hosted the World Championships, and Hieroglyphics was going to play. What was the event called? There was an event that the city was putting on,
It was
and
like summer or something.
yeah, like on the river, like the
Yeah,
River Walk, something
yeah.
like that. And
Mhm.
so there was some talk about them performing at that, and then a lot of buzz about them performing after the after party would be at the Big Dirty. But then that was just misinformation, right? How did that whole situation come to be, and how did it, what
There
was
was a
that all about?
promoter that works for them that contacted me and said, "Hey, they want to make an appearance." And I said, "Does an appearance include a performance?" We discussed price. We agreed on a price. We signed contracts. Then he calls me day of the show and said, "Oh no, they just meant like come hang out at your bar." And I had to be like, I wouldn't give 10 cents to put cheese on a Whopper. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I I'm only paying. I wouldn't pay anyone to hang out at my bar. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't. That's like paying for viewers, or it just feels corny. So I was like, I was paying them for a performance, a short performance, 30, 45 minutes. I understand that, like,
Yeah.
I'm not paying you top dollar price here, but they discovered that and then kind of chewed him out, and then he had to come to me and be like, I'm sorry, so it was a big misunderstanding, but we had not been allowed to advertise it ahead of time because they were performing at that Riverwalk one, and that they have a cutoff. Exactly. Yeah. So they have a cutoff time, and it was like noon the day of. So we announced it noon the day of who it was, and then they saw it and we're like, what the fuck? We're not performing anywhere, right? So they called their dude, and then he had to call me, and then it was just like this, which sucks because not only does it make us look bad, but also that's a night that I could have booked. And Thomas
leaving a comment. I went to the Big Dirty one time, disappointingly clean.
It's people will come far and wide to poop there, dude. The bathrooms are friggin' sweet, but yeah,
it's not an invitation. That's not an invitation to do so.
Yeah, I mean, if you buy a drink, dude, 2-drink minimum if you want to use the shitter, but yeah.
Anyway, no, I mean, it's just, those stories, there's a lot of tension and a lot of emotion that goes behind the scenes. And I think people have no concept of that, about how promoters are told one thing and then the telephone game happens. And
dealing with artists in general, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a struggle.
I'm an artist, and I'm like, yeah, no, but I have insurance and licenses and all of the. I am too. I've been on both sides of it. You know what I mean? Like I've had to wait around until 2 a.m. to get paid out by some shady promoter, and I've had to wait around till 2 a.m. to pay somebody. You know what I mean? Like, so, but I'm not a promoter. I'm just the owner. Right.
So planning for this episode, normally I would put in a lot more time doing research and stuff, and I just started feeling like shit. So I hired a robot. His name is Gary, and I'm going to have him now writing my copy. So this is my robot assistant, Gary. Actually, no, this is Chat GPT. People have been talking about this a lot. There's now an app, or it's actually just kind of a website called Chat GPT. I'm calling it Gary. And you can type in any question you want, and it'll basically just spit out exactly what you ask. I mean, there's limitations, but this artificial intelligence, this AI, is pretty creepy. So I wanted to use some examples of it and ask you some questions. And it did a lot of the work for me today. All I wrote in the question box was questions for a hip hop artist that owns a bar. That's simple. And these are some of the questions that it spit out. Can you talk about how your experience as a hip hop artist influenced the creation of your venue?
I can't say that it influenced the creation so much as the direction of some of the stuff that we book and the people that I've hired. A lot of the people that I hired are involved in like the underground hip hop scene, and I try to pick people from all over different genres of music scenes to be a part of it. But the cool thing about it is that I got the call to come in and talk to my now partners about the project because one of my old mixtapes was in the door of one of the guys' things, because one of the partners' techs is he fixes turntables. One time he fixed one of my turntables. I gave him a CD. It was an old mixtape that had like a picture of like a homeless gentleman like holding a sign that says K.I.Design, and it was like the first thing I put out when I moved here. And he was like, oh, that guy's been in bars for a long time. Let's talk to him about it, and that's kind of how it came together. So I guess in a way,
just being present for a long time. Yeah. And
had I never rapped and given him that CD, I'd never be part owner of the Big Dirty,
Right.
So
where did the name come from?
Trailer Park Boys.
Nice.
Yeah. One of our partners is a huge Trailer Park Boys. Shout out to Maddie and Alexis and the team,
That's awesome. Okay. Another question from the Chat GPT. What was the biggest challenge you faced in starting and running your venue, and how did you overcome it? You're right. Is it sometimes dealing with the location? I mean, sometimes dealing with
again, this is another loaded question that I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, but this is where being painfully honest becomes a problem.
Don't get mad at me. This is the robot.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad. I'm just a passionate dude.
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest problem we had was when we first opened. We booked this one show and it was sold out. And it was when we first opened. And one of the bands started claiming that our bartenders were drugging people. And they started taking to social media and sharing all these rumors and lies and crazy conspiracies, you know. And I had to like talk about it to like multiple news sources, and I happily and willingly gave footage over to the police and did everything accordingly, and there was absolutely no foul play. But the thing that's the hardest is that when people cross over the threshold into an establishment, they almost relinquish all accountability for themselves, and now it's your responsibility. Like, I'm gonna while out and it's your job to make sure that I'm safe about it. So like, we do everything we can to keep it as safe as possible, but like sometimes I feel like people let their guard down in public spaces that no matter how much fun you're having, you should always keep your wits about you, you know, and be accountable for yourself to some degree, you know. And that was the hardest part, was noticing that we spent all this time and money to build this place, to cultivate art and to cater towards people who wanted to have a good time, and then to only see them like turn around and be like, you're the bad guy. And I'm like, wait, why would I protect anybody that was doing shit like this? I'm not victim blaming. I'm trying to establish that there is indeed a victim. I'm just doing my diligence, you know? And so it was funny because a couple different news sources hit me up and I spoke to all of them because I don't run from shit. I'm happy to explain my position. And one of them was the Daily Emerald, and they hit us up and I was like, are you trying to do a smear campaign or what? And they were like, no, actually these bands associated with this show have had reports of sexual assaults at all of their house shows. And now it seems like it followed over to your venue, which it didn't. It was a big, it was not what happened, but they were like, and now we think they're trying to place the blame on you guys. And so I did an interview with the Daily Emerald. The article's still out there. And I think after a while, everybody kind of simmered down and realized that like, we're on the same team. And like, if there is somebody doing shady shit, like I'm the first person who wants to know. And I'm the first person to throw the book at them, because I use this to feed my daughter, you know? So like, we're not fucking around. This isn't like, I'm not snorting coke in the back room and like, and like hanging out with exotic dancers and shit. Like, I'm just a dude who goes to work and then begrudgingly does it every day because that's what the fuck you have to do.
Because you have to do that. Yeah, that's tough. Let's talk about being in downtown Eugene. Downtown Eugene for a lot of people has gotten to a point where they just don't want to be there. I don't go out as much because I quit drinking like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, your place is the only place that I really do end up at. And it really is based on who's performing, because there's times that I just feel like I need to get out of the house. But downtown Eugene has changed. I mean, obviously a nightlife is going to be a little bit more sus, just there's stuff going on that's questionable. I'm not talking about your bar. I'm talking about just the streets, like in Barnito.
No, I know. Our house
and and it's difficult. I mean, but at the same time, that's what culture is all about. That's what people are going there for, is to see kind of the vibrance of life, and the different types of people. But what are some of the challenges that you face, dealing with some of the loitering and people breaking stuff? I know that you guys got a cool new door, and then within like the first week, the glass was broken.
Here's what I will say. It's not all homeless people shitting on my doorstep, but it's only homeless people shitting on my doorstep. You know what I'm saying? So like, it sucks because I know I'm going to catch some shit for that, because like, although I am empathetic because I have been in between homes and I'm not a man of means, the way we just like allow this antisocial behavior, but then we're expected to give them the full leniency of society. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's strange to me that like it's clearly a problem if you're down there for more than 5 days. You know, like, okay, this is like a brunt of the problem. And it just seems like nothing is being done for the sake of fear of not appearing liberal enough, which I'm a left-leaning dude. But like there's this fear of like this, like I'm not trying to pull buzzword, but like to virtue signal about how good a person is based off of how they treat our lowest performing citizen or whatever. But like something has to be done, you know what I mean? Because like
it's so tough to navigate. It's so tough, you know,
you
because
want an economy, or and the thing is the part that, and this could be my own head, but like you don't see this shit down at Fifth Street Market, and we have a police station right next door to us. Nobody's getting arrested, and nobody's, you know, like I had a guy smash a window. I went out to confront him. He wiped his hands on his ass, got shit all over his hands, slapped him on the wall, and then squared up on me. Like, I mean, if I were to beat his ass and that got on camera, they'd be like, the owner of the Big Dirty beats up poor homeless man. Like, obviously, the dude is insane, and that sucks.
Yeah, but like there was, well, and then, you know, there was that situation, Dizzy Dean's in Eugene, West 11th, where, and this is nuanced, and this is super nuanced, and it's these situations aren't black and white. And I hate that expression. I hate that expression. But the point is, like at Dizzy Dean's, there was a person sitting out front that was in the cold, and it sounds like they did light a fire. That they did. That they lit a fire, and the owner came out super frustrated, lost their shit, and dumped water on them, and said, you know, putting out the fire basically, which is dehumanizing. And I talked about this in the last episode, that we have to, as a society, find ways that dehumanizing people is something that we can work towards not doing at all, you know. But here's these situations where it's like, when this person is dehumanizing me, you know, by acting like abhorrent, what do you do? Like, where you're like, they're not, you know, I mean, it's a difficult thing, and I can imagine it's
and I'm sympathetic towards it. I don't think throwing them in jail is what you do. I don't, you know what I mean? But I think, like, you know, Springfield enacted a no panhandling thing, and the Washburn district is clean, and people go down there, and they, you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm all for building clean shooting sites. I'm all for all of these things that help them in their situation, but I'm not for just letting people bust out my windows with no repercussions. There was that guy that stabbed a girl, or another guy, like in some parking lot, and it was all over, like the security stuff downtown. We're all aware of it, right? And then he's out the next night. Dude just stabbed somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you're talking about the big manhunt, right? Like the guy that was caught in Grants Pass. What was his name? Like Benjamin Foster or something like that?
Guy. This is a different guy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
there was people get released all the time. That's what we could be. I mean, obviously me and you, two kids with a background in like making hip hop and punk rock music. Like you know, we've been speaking out about. It's funny how I'm not super anti-police. I'm not anti-cop. I'm not pro. Yeah. I mean, I understand the nuance, and I think there's a need for them. And we're in a really difficult time in our society where we're like looking at it like, is this the only approach? The problem is, and I don't want to get too political because I know that's not your wheelhouse, but the problem is once anyone recommends solutions, what does that take? It takes funding, it takes resources, and nobody wants to foot the bill. Nobody wants to, and not only does nobody want to foot the bill, nobody wants to ask the people with the means to foot the bill, because the people that actually could afford to, you know, pay for all this shit by paying their fair share of taxes that they're not currently paying, you know, it's just not going to happen. And now we have to spend the money to shoot down Chinese balloons. And so it's, I don't know. We
got a couple cool TikToks out of it though.
Yeah. So right. You know, I was thinking about making a reel with that one where you zoom in and it's like, what is on that Chinese balloon? You zoom in, and it says, we're just here to tell you that your car warranty has expired, you know, but
you know, or you know, watch Spent the Rent podcast.
Right. Yeah, something fun like
Yeah.
that. Can you tell us about the atmosphere? This is another question from Gary, the Chat GPT robot. Can you tell us about the atmosphere and the vibe that you aim to create at your venue and how you achieve that? We talked about the mixed genres. We talked about the colorful stage and the talented staff and management and ownership. Talk about the atmosphere, the vibe, and all that good stuff. I don't know the lingo.
Obviously the visuals are something that are a big part of what we do. Like there's a lot of textures going on and a lot to look at, you know, and that's mostly for shows and things like that. And then the atmosphere that I'm trying to create is like during the day it's a lounge and you can come hang out. There's comfortable couches, there's good food. We have a food cart out back with El Quetzal. Shout out to El Quetzal. They're amazing. And then you know, and then so making it really loungy. We're investing in some games and stuff downstairs to make it so even if you don't want to see a show, you can come hang out, you know. And I'm trying to create a space that any genre will fit into. So it doesn't seem, when people first see it, I think people initially go like, oh, EDM. You know, like it looks like a festival, but then you get an indie band up there and you're like, wow, this looks really good. And almost every band that or DJ or artist, whatever, has come through for the next like tour run that they have, all of their pictures are on that stage. So
Right.
we know we have something with like our branding is good. If you saw that out there, you would go like, that's the Big Dirty. The same way when you see an Ninkasi poster, you're like, oh yeah, I can tell that's
Yeah, the aesthetic is there for sure.
is there. Yeah. And it's scalable and all of these things. And we're just trying to create a space that's like comfortable and fun and safe, but also not going to pander to the lowest common denominator and like kind of bring a little bit of blend to the quality control of like local shows meets big shows. Cause like a lot of people, when they get to a place where they have a nice space, they kind of want to abandon the local scene. And we don't want to do that. Like
Right.
I am a big part of the local scene and have been for a long time. And I'm a strong advocate for it. And I've always had a hard time with people being like, oh, the hip hop scene in Eugene sucks. And it's like, you're saying that from behind a computer, like put on a show, do something.
Or go to one, and it may
Go
not
to
be,
one.
it may
Yeah,
not be
like
what your expectations are, but the talent is incredible.
there's some really good MCs out here, man.
Yeah.
Like some of my favorite, for instance, who doesn't even MC anymore, Undermined is one of the most naturally gifted MCs I've ever met in my entire life, crossing genres. Like, dude's incredibly talented and like should have more local rep than he does. You know what I'm saying?
When you're humble, that's the hard thing with hip hop, is that when you're humble and you're accessible to your audience,
Yeah,
it's a subconscious turnoff sometimes.
sure.
I swear.
Yeah.
I think that you localize yourself, which I would not change. That's the thing I love about you. That's the thing I love about and Undermined. And
Yeah.
even though I never had an illusion that my music would go somewhere, there's a fun dream where you're doing it. But I also will never give up that integrity. I will always just do what I want to do because I like it. That's what that's what art's supposed to be. Undermined is a big part of Eugene's hip hop story, and there's no two ways about it. And he's like 3 feet tall. And he's like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, and he's one of the most talented dudes I've ever met, even like outside of Eugene. Like,
yeah. At your Swervis is his live stream on Twitch.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
And it's a big deal. It's huge.
We used to like be writing architects projects and be recording, and he would just show up blacked out one day and freestyle all of his verses, and they would be like the best verses on the album.
And I like how you say one day, not one night.
No, yeah.
It was noon. It was noon. Yeah.
Undy likes to party, dude.
Yeah. I know. I was that kid for a long time, you know, and
me too.
I didn't make beats with a flute like Undermined, which is incredible. But
yeah.
You know, let's see if we got the last question from Gary, the Chat GPT robot. What are your plans for future growth and development of the venue?
So right now we're investing in the game room downstairs. We're working with Sling and Wiener to potentially put together some sort of menu for a better food menu inside the bar. And then we're working on the back patio right now. So doing a lot of just expanding, you know, like to accommodate more people, because we're aware that some of our limitations is our size, you know, like it's not a huge capacity venue, which for Eugene is great because it's hard to stack a room 600 people plus 7 nights a week, you know, and I don't think there's anyone else in town that's doing an event 7 nights a week, you know. So we're just trying to expand it and grow it and team up with more local businesses to do more showcases and just fun ideas that aren't limited to music. We do stand-up comedy, we do burlesque, we do, you know, variety shows, we do all types of stuff. And we just want people to know that, like, no matter how weird your idea sounds, send it in and let's see what we can come up with, because sometimes things stick.
That's a good segue for a call to action. Let's talk about how, if artists, independent, local, or if you're listening, you're not in the area and you're touring and you want to talk to the people at the Big Dirty, how would people go about that? How would they find you? And you said that, what was the booking person's name?
Alexis.
So just go to the Big Dirty's website. Would that be the best way to?
Yeah, you can do it through the website, thebigdirty.live. You can also email bookings with an S at thebigdirty.live, and then we'll send you a form to fill out. We have an online form that you can fill out that kind of like helps us gauge, like, because a lot of people will be like, hey, I want to do a show, and then we'll go like, okay, what date did you have in mind? They're like, what? And then they're like, you know, because they're not used to doing it, and that's okay, you know, like, we're happy to help you develop something good, you know, but there's a lot of different ways to book a show, you know. So
I love that, because sometimes with artists, they're the shy kid that's finally coming out of their shell. And so when they're starting out making music, especially with young hip hop artists, and for you to give them a stage is huge. And that's what I try to do with this podcast, is to elevate voices of people, the underrepresented, which by what I meant by that is really just people that don't get hour-long interviews a lot of times. I mean, this is a treat to be able to hear what you have to say about this, because every time I've talked to you about it, you've been running around at the bar, doing. I
don't get to sit still very often. Yeah.
It's cool to see, and I'm really proud of what you guys have been able to build.
Thanks, man. You too.
Yeah, thank you so much. What do we have coming up? What is the next big night that you want to give a shout out about?
Tonight's Glam. So
okay.
Drag show with dance party with DJ Super John. It's a lot of fun.
And so that's Saturday night, February 4th.
Yep. And then Sunday we have some electronic stuff coming through. I believe it's Voltage. Wilton Bloom, Voltage.
Oh, cool.
Then we've got burlesque on Thursday. We've got every Wednesday is karaoke. Every Tuesday is salsa dancing. Monday is trivia. If you come on trivia and you win, you get ticket vouchers for up to $10. So you can get in free to a $10 show, or $10 off any ticket. So if there's like a $25, $30 show, you can get in for cheaper.
That's cool.
Yeah, we've got that Andy Frasco show coming through. We got a lot of cool stuff.
Are you guys doing comedy there too?
Yeah. You know Seth Milstein?
I think, is that who Thomas interviewed?
Maybe. Seth Milstein's a local comic, been doing it for a long time. He brings us shows every once in a while, and we do them at the Big Dirty. Yeah.
There's a growing comedy scene in Eugene for sure.
If there was one thing I could do for the rest of my life, it would get good at comedy. But
me too. That's a dream. It's a nightmare too. I mean, it's like something I've always wanted to do. But you have that ability, because I think that what it takes is that you have to be humble and cocky at the same time, and you sometimes are really good at managing that. I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
I think it's just self-aware.
No, but you have to be tough. You have to be tough.
Oh yeah, I'm the youngest of 5 brothers. I've been roasted into oblivion, and I was a battle rapper for a long time. There's nothing you can say to me that. And growing up looking like this in Central California, being like, I rap, like, dude, I got ripped on by my best friends harder than anything any strangers ever gonna say to me.
Well, but then anybody that listens to your music, and for the audio listeners, you're gonna get to, for the video, if you're watching this, you're gonna have to go look up K.I.Design on Spotify. But you've got some bars, you've got the talent to. So I know that in battle rap, I'm sure that people that underestimate you, it doesn't end well for them, But well, hey, thank you so much. It's been a treat to chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're gonna get out of here.
All right, man.